Dear students, a very good morning to all of you. In the concluding part of the influence of systemic disorders and stress on the pedontium, we will discuss the adverse impact of a few more nutrient deficiencies and other agents on the pedontium. In the last class, we have discussed about the fat-soluble vitamins, and today we'll discuss about the water-soluble vitamins, that is vitamin B and vitamin C. So first is the B complex deficiencies. Now the B complex is composed of 8 vitamins like thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, cobalamin, folic acid, etc. Oral disease is rarely caused by deficiency of just one of these, and the deficiency is generally of a multiple nature. In individuals with vitamin B deficiency, gingivitis is caused by bacterial plaque rather than by the deficiency itself. However, the deficiency modifies the gingival morphology and renders it more susceptible to inflammation. Now, oral changes which are common to all B complex components deficiencies are gingivitis, glossitis, glossodynia, angular cheilitis, and inflammation of the entire oral mucosa. So the first vitamin is B1 or the thiamine, and we will discuss about the deficiency. The deficiency is called as beriberi, which is characterized by paralysis, cardiovascular symptoms, loss of appetite, and also the oral manifestations associated with thiamine deficiency are a hypersensitive oral mucosa, minute vesicles which resembles the herpes on the buccal mucosa, under the tongue and on the palate, and erosion of the oral mucosa. Next is the riboflavin or the vitamin B2 deficiency. This is also known as ariboflavinosis. Riboflavin deficiency gives rise to many symptoms in the oral cavity. Now, changes in the tongue. First is the glossitis, which is characterized by a magenta discoloration and atrophy of the papillae. Now, this deficiency manifests as a mild to moderate form and a severe form. So, in mild deficiencies, the dorsum of the tongue exhibits a patchy atrophy of the papillae with engorged lingual papillae and fungiform papillae, which project as pebble-like elevations. In case of severe deficiency, the entire dorsum appears dry, flat, and appears like a fissured surface. Now, angular cheilitis is very common, and it begins as an inflammation of the angle of the mouth or the lip commissures, and this is followed by erosion, ulceration, and fissuring. And the candidiasis may develop in especially in the debilitated persons, and this lesion is termed as pearlish, as you can see in the picture. Next is the niacin deficiency, and the condition is known as pellagra. It is characterized by symptoms of dermatitis, diarrhea, neurologic and mental disturbances, dementia, etc. And oral manifestations include glossitis, gingivitis, and generalized stomatitis. The oral manifestations of niacin deficiency in experimental animals include a discoloration of the tongue to a black color, along with gingival inflammation, with the destruction of gingival structures, the periodontal ligament, and the alveolar bone. The most common finding is necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis, and usually, if there are any areas in the oral cavity, it gives rise to localized irritation. Now, necrosis of the gingiva and other oral tissues, as well as leukopenia, are features of niacin deficiency in these experimental animals. Now, next is the folic acid or the B9 deficiency. This is also known as SPRU, where along with folic acid, there's a deficiency of vitamin B12 and an inflammation of the intestines and inability to absorb food and nutrients is the feature of folic acid deficiency. Um, Now, in animals with folic acid deficiency, necrosis of the gingiva, periodontal ligament, and alveolar bone is seen without the presence of inflammation. Now, this absence of inflammation is the result of deficiency-induced granulocytopenia. In humans with sprue and folic acid deficiencies, generalized stomatitis occurs, and this may be accompanied by ulcerative glossitis and cheilitis. Ulcerative stomatitis is an early indication of the toxic effects of folic acid antagonist, that is methotrexate, which is used for the treatment of leukemia. Next is the vitamin C deficiency disorders. Now, I'm sure all of you are familiar with scurvy, which occurs due to vitamin C disorder. Now, from a periodontal standpoint, vitamin C deficiency has a very profound impact on the periodontal disease, especially when there's a pre-existing uh, disease in the periodontium and other destructive factors are also present. Now, scurvy results in the defective formation and maintenance of collagen, the impairment or cessation of osteoid formation, and impaired osteoblastic function. Now, this condition is also characterized by an increased capillary permeability and especially increased susceptibility to traumatic hemorrhages uh, because there's a hyporeactivity of the contractile elements of the peripheral blood vessels, and therefore hemorrhages occur very spontaneously, and there's also a sluggishness observed in the blood flow. Clinical manifestations of scurvy include hemorrhagic lesions into the muscles of the extremities, joints, and sometimes also the nail beds, and some petechial hemorrhages often seen around the hair follicles. And there's an increased susceptibility to infections, impaired wound healing. And in the periodontal tissues, you can observe a bleeding, swollen gingiva, and loosening of the teeth is a very common feature. The possible etiological factors, according to Wolf, for ascorbic acid to play a role in the periodontal disease. Now, one of the following mechanism has been suggested. First is the low level of ascorbic acid influences the collagen metabolism within the periodontal tissues and affects the ability of the tissues to regenerate and repair itself. Ascorbic acid deficiency interferes with the bone formation and leads to loss of periodontal bone. Changes that occur in the alveolar bone and other bones as a result of failure of the osteoblast to form osteoid takes place very late in the deficiency state. So, when the deficiency has crossed the level of mild to moderate and it assumes a severe deficiency, it's only then that bony changes occur. Now, the osteoporosis which results, osteoporosis of the alveolar bone from this increased osteoclastic resorption is not associated with pocket formation. Ascorbic acid deficiency increases the permeability of oral mucosa to bacterial endotoxins. Now, bacterial endotoxins are the toxins often secreted by these microorganisms which have a destructive effect. They usually involve in the destruction of the periodontal tissues, and these bacteria lodge themselves into the gingival sulcus or the tissues, and they release the toxins and they start destroying the periodontal tissues. Now, optimum levels of vitamin C maintain the epithelial barrier function to this bacterial products, and therefore they have a protective function on the periodontal tissues. Increasing the levels of ascorbic acid enhance the chemotactic and migratory action of leukocytes without having an influence on their phagocytic activity. However, in larger doses of vitamin C, there's an impairment in the bactericidal activity of leukocytes. So these are contrasting situations and the mechanism of this is not very clear. An optimum level of ascorbic acid is apparently required to maintain the integrity of periodontal microvasculature as well as the vascular response to bacterial plaque and wound healing. Depletion of vitamin C may interfere with the ecological equilibrium of bacteria in the plaque, and thereby it may increase the pathogenicity. Again, there is no evidence available to prove this effect. Now, let us see how vitamin C deficiency affects the periodontal diseases like gingivitis and periodontitis. So, gingivitis and vitamin C deficiency. Now, contrary to the earlier association of gingival disease with scurvy, studies now say that gingivitis is not caused by vitamin C deficiency, and they also say that vitamin C deficient patients may not necessarily have gingivitis. Gingivitis in vitamin C deficient patient is caused by bacterial plaque. Vitamin C deficiency may aggravate the gingival response to plaque and worsen the edema, enlargement, and bleeding. In addition, although correcting the deficiency may reduce the severity of the disorder, gingivitis remains as long as bacterial factors are present. Now, periodontitis and vitamin C deficiency. An acute vitamin C deficiency results in edema and hemorrhage in the periodontal ligament, osteoporosis of the alveolar bone, tooth mobility, edema, degeneration of the collagen fibers, and this deficiency also impairs the gingival healing. Acute vitamin C deficiency accentuates the destructive effect of gingival inflammation on the underlying periodontal ligament and alveolar bone. Vitamin C deficiency alone does not cause periodontal destruction, and the local bacterial factors are also required for uh, the increase in probing depth and attachment loss to occur. Next are the protein deficiencies. Protein depletion results in hypoproteinemia. The manifestations include weakness, weight loss, anemia, decreased resistance to infection, and slow wound healing. And also there's a reduction in ability to form certain hormones and enzymes. In experimental animals who are deprived of proteins, there's a degeneration of the connective tissue of gingiva and periodontal ligament, osteoporosis of the alveolar bone, impaired deposition of cementum, delayed wound healing, and atrophy of the tongue epithelium are generally observed. In non-oral areas, similar changes occur in the periosteum and in the bone. The osteoporosis results from the reduced deposition of osteoid. And there's a reduction in the number of osteoblasts and their activities, impairment in the morphodifferentiation of connective tissue cells to form osteoblasts and not from a rather increased osteoclastic activity. Now, a striking feature here is that loss of alveolar bone results from inhibition of the normal bone formation activity and not from the introduction of destructive factors. Protein deficiency also accentuates the destructive effect of bacterial plaque and occlusal trauma on the periodontal tissues. But the initiation of gingival inflammation and its severity depends upon the bacterial plaque. In protein deficiencies, periodontal tissues become more vulnerable to breakdown when they are challenged by a bacterial invasion. Next, other systemic conditions. Now, under this, we're going to learn about hypophosphatasia. Now, this is a rare skeletal disease, and this is characterized by rickets, poor cranial bone formation, and craniostenosis. The periodontal features include teeth which are lost with no evidence of inflammation, reduced cementum formation, premature loss of primary teeth, that is the incisors, and in adolescence you can see an aggressive type of periodontitis. Next, we'll discuss about the congenital heart diseases. Now, this disease occur in 1% of the total births, and they involve the heart, adjacent vessels, or both. Now, the tetralogy of Fallot includes features like a ventricular septal defect, pulmonary stenosis, malposition of aorta, and right ventricular enlargement. So all these features put together form the Fallot's tetralogy. Systemic symptoms include severe cyanosis, heart murmur, and breathlessness. Now, oral manifestations of this condition are purplish red discoloration of the lip and the gingiva. Severe marginal gingivitis and periodontal destruction are seen. The tongue is coated, fissured, and edematous, and a reddening of the fungiform and the filiform papillae are seen on the tongue dorsum. Next, we'll discuss about the effect of some metals on the periodontium. Now, exposure to metal can occur in individuals who work in factories or certain chemical factories where they are exposed to some heavy metals. And this chronic exposure causes a lot of general and oral disturbances. So, first is the bismuth intoxication. The general disturbances because of bismuth intoxication are GI disturbances like nausea, vomiting, etc. Dermatological symptoms include urticaria, some kind of eruptions on the skin, bullous purpuric lesions, and skin pigmentation. The oral manifestations of this intoxication are ulcerative gingivostomatitis, inflamed tongue, a change in the tongue to a metallic taste, and burning sensation of mucosa. And a linear bluish black pigmentation is seen in gingiva which is inflamed. Next is the lead intoxication. The general features are pallor of face, GI symptoms like nausea, vomiting, abdominal cramps, loss of appetite, etc. Psychological disorders and encephalitis. Oral manifestations of lead intoxication include this increase in salivation, coating on the tongue, and again change in the tongue taste buds, and they can perceive sweetish taste, and gingival ulceration and linear steel gray gingival pigmentation with local inflammation, which is also known as Burtonian line, as you can see in the picture. The steel gray discoloration, it follows along the gingival margins, and it is usually present in gingival areas or the margins where inflammation is present. Next is the mercury intoxication, which is characterized generally with a headache, insomnia, and cardiovascular symptoms. Oral manifestations include a change in the metallic taste, tylism, linear pigmentation because of the formation of mercuric sulfide, and it accentuates a pre-existing inflammation and leads to gingival and mucosal ulceration and destruction of the bone. Now, there are other compounds which bring about changes in the periodontium. So, phosphorus, arsenic, chromium, intoxication, etc. Now, they cause gingival inflammation, ulceration, necrosis of the alveolar bone, and tooth loosening and exfoliation. Whereas benzene intoxication causes gingival bleeding, ulceration, and destruction of the alveolar bone. Now, there are certain medications which, when prescribed to manage or prevent diseases, may have an adverse effects on the periodontal tissues, their wound healing or host immune response. Now, under this, we have two drugs, the bisphosphonates and the corticosteroids. So, we'll first discuss about the bisphosphonates. Bisphosphonates are a class of drugs mainly used to treat cancer. They act by inhibiting the osteoclastic activity, which leads to less bone resorption, less bone remodeling, and less bone turnover. The use of bisphosphonates in cancer treatment is aimed at preventing the imbalance of osteoclastic activity. Now, what is the effect of bisphosphonates on the periodontium? Now, this causes an adverse effect known as osteonecrosis of the jaw. Now, this is a serious condition and it is characterized by non-healing and often painful sequestration of the jawbone. Now, bisphosphonates also affect the soft tissues and may contribute to osteonecrosis of the jaw via an inhibition of the soft tissue healing. Now, clinically, bronch manifests itself as an exposed alveolar bone that occurs spontaneously or after a dental procedure, like, for example, a dental extraction. The sites may be painful with surrounding soft tissue induration and inflammation, and there can be infection with drainage seen coming from the site. Radiographically, the lesions appear radiolucent with sclerosis of the lamina dura, and many a times there can be a loss of lamina dura and a widening of the periodontal ligament where in those areas where the teeth are present. Histologically, necrotic bone, empty lacunae with lack of living osteocytes are generally seen. Now, the relation between bisphosphonates and periodontal bone loss. The bone preserving action of bisphosphonates has been studied and its use has been suggested in the prevention of bone loss from periodontal disease. Now, this is because of the inhibition of bone loss feature of bisphosphonate drugs. Studies have demonstrated bone preservation with low doses of bisphosphonates. Higher doses and longer administration may have a neutral or detrimental effect on bone loss, which is caused by periodontitis. Now, next is the corticosteroids, which we have already discussed before in the earlier part under the same topic. So that is all for now, and we come to the end of this class. Any doubts you can put forth in the forum, and please go through the textbooks and please put forth your doubts, and we will be happy to solve them for you. Thank you.